2022 March Cheesesteak Madness, the judges bracket, first round action in the Delco region. We have Cocco's Pizza versus Doc's Deli. Special guest judges, Jim Hassan, more affectionately known as J2, and his buddy John. Jim had very strong opinions about 3 of these cheesesteaks, so we ate them blind. So in the video, when I refer to cheesesteak 1, that is Cocco's. When I refer to cheesesteak number 4, Doc's Deli.
2022 March Cheesesteak Madness back in Delco. We got cheesesteak A, or cheesesteak 1 for the evening. So we have 2 chefs acting as normal people tonight. Right. Ship Bottom Brewing, cheesesteak A, and apparently you didn't like it.
I starve myself all day, so.
I tell people you have to stretch yourself. Any 30,000 foot view, you didn't like the mushrooms, I think I heard you say.
Well, I don't think, I barely could tell there was any mushroom in it if there were mushrooms. I mean, I think, was it mushroom or a piece of fat? Didn't have much flavor.
Which to me is actually like a plus for them. You can't taste the mushroom.
All right, I have to. I'm doing quadruple duty again tonight, so I'm going to put down the phone and eat.
Doc's Deli, aka cheesesteak number 4 from Lansdowne.
There's more meat than a lot of the other ones with the same amount of cheese.
2022 March Cheesesteak Madness. 2 chefs and 1 handsome devil. Delco Region. Lower Delco. Fourth cheesesteak of the day. The roll is scooped. I missed about 90 seconds of great commentary by my chefs.
Oh, no problem.
It's probably, like you said, it's the best roll of all of them. The sturdiest.
Yeah, but at the same point in time, I think that it was the driest steak of the 4, and definitely the onions were the least cooked. It took away from the steak instead of adding to it.
Yeah, that first onion you pulled off was pretty bland.
I can't decide. There's no crunch to it, but at the same point in time, it's not cooked enough to caramelize it, so you didn't add any flavor. So it's like, why'd you add it?
That's a good question. That's a good question. 2022 March Cheesesteak Madness. Delco Region, first round. 2 chefs involved, and we're doing blind. This could be for all you people that message that you thought Jim Hassan may have been on the spectrum. You're wrong. He may be genius.
Which I could also be on the spectrum and be a genius.
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
But we're going blind, so we're doing cheesesteak 1 versus cheesesteak 4. Chef, who's the jump off?
The one, I thought the roll was not great. I kind of, after having all 4, I've gone back and thought I've given it a little higher opinion because I realized that the rolls have been sitting in the wrappers for like at least an hour, so that's not going to be normal if you're getting a cheesesteak usually. But it was an Amoroso style roll. No seeds or anything. It was just okay. It wasn't anything special.
Yeah. I agree with that. The roll was not the best roll I've had. Definitely a bit more on the bread style of the 4 rolls. But I also agree that I think all 4 rolls kind of end up more in the middle somewhere when you talk about density. But let this be a lesson to anybody that uses tinfoil. All 4 of those steaks used paper, and the rolls were not soggy because they allowed the steak to breathe. So it kept it from being bad. It was just definitely maybe slightly below average.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, the meat, I would say the meat had a good chop. Didn't have a ton of flavor. You definitely felt it wasn't a whole muscle ribeye or similar, but wasn't of low quality. Juicy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was. I wrote down it was a decent chop. I like a good chop to it. I'm not big on the slabs. The whole point of a cheesesteak is it's not the best cut of meat, so you kind of want to get more chop and more cheese in there and onions. But yeah, it was
mediocrity with cheese.
Yeah. And this one had it had a good flavor to it. This one, I thought it was seasoned pretty well.
Cheese extras.
Cheese, the distribution was good. It got all through it.
I think this was the best steak of the 4 that we ate today. Definitely between these two, it had the best onion flavor. The onions were definitely sauteed. Yeah, number 1, the onions were definitely sauteed outside the steak and then added. They were the only one you could taste the sweetness of the onion, like it had caramelized a little. And that was, to me, the overall best part of the steak.
The only I have it as an extra. It was a little sparse. It was almost like when you looked at it, it's like the type of cheesesteak you get at like a cafeteria that didn't specialize in cheesesteaks. It was a little. It wasn't bursting with meat or anything. It was just kind of like.
It was just going to jump out of a wrapper and smack you in the face.
No, it did not.
Yeah, overall, it's the type of steak you would expect from an average place anywhere in like the Delco, Montgomery area. You're at a friend's house and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, the steaks aren't bad," and you're like, "Okay."
If you're at a pizza place where the pizza place's name is the town that it's in, that's the type of cheesesteak it was.
Yeah, great.
Like Havertown Pizza, Broomall Pizza, Newtown Square Pizza. That's pretty much the steak it was.
Yep, brutal.
They didn't.
Standing back in
There's no
kitchen.
Ridley Pizza that I know,
Steak.
but this was Ridley Pizza. It's Ridley Pizza cheesesteak.
Standing back in those hot kitchens, like you guys are bad moves. All right, what's number 4? Cheesesteak number 4. I know.
Wow. Well, this is a
Cheesesteak.
polarizing one.
Yeah.
Is it an easy one?
No, I mean, cheesesteak number 4 is a tale of two stories, right? It's a story about the roll and a story about the meat. I think it had a really good roll and then executed really poorly.
It looked the best of all of them. Like when you look at it, because you can tell when a roll is scooped out because it's kind of like the meat just kind of like fills it out to the brim of the bread. And that can be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. I thought it was the roll was very good. The meat was plentiful, but in a way that was bad because it was dry and like I don't think the cheese got through it as much.
I'm so proud of cheese. Couldn't go through it. Cheese like stopped.
Cheese couldn't get into it.
I feel like the cheese put his toe in the meat.
Yeah.
Like, oh, get out of here.
Yeah,
See the cheese with a little pickaxe there trying to.
again, it was one of those where it had a great amount of meat and then it didn't have any flavor. And I don't know how you get meat that's cooked correctly but then seems to not be juicy and have any flavor in it. And then the fact that the onions and the mushrooms, same thing, seemed to be an afterthought and kind of thrown in at the end. So they both didn't have flavor and then didn't add anything to the steak either.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, all right. So
I think I liked it more than John did, but I still there was issues. There was a lot of issues with it.
well, 1 versus 4. This is like your heavyweight bout. But it is the first round. First round, 64 cheesesteaks in the tournament. Where are we going?
It's kind of a tough one. It's always hard to be the first cheese. Like I've competed in things, and you never want to be first because nobody knows how to. They just see your performance. They don't know like how to base it on anything else. I initially didn't like one, and I already in my mind kind of had it ranked low. After eating the other ones, there's some aspects of one that I liked more. But I think I'm going to go 4. I think aesthetically it just looked better. The roll was good. And I think as far as the meat, like I think it could have been just the chef that maybe didn't put enough cheese in it. But I think if it had more cheese in it, that's a top-notch cheesesteak. So I'm going to go 4.
I guess I'm going to have to go basically with number 1. They were within a point for me, these two cheesesteaks. It was close. The roll in number 4 was so far superior. It literally almost brings it almost all the way to number 4, but I've only started after 40 years of cheesesteaks, in the last 10 years, I've only started getting them with onions again. And for me, that becomes a deciding factor, that the onions in number one were so much better that between the two, I have to go with number one.
Wow. I'm shocked.
Does that mean you have to?
That means I have to vote.
You have to break the tie.
And it's funny the way you guys are talking about number one now. It's like what you just said. Like all of a sudden now, it's like, was I too hard on number one?
That's it.
Well, I feel like if you took number one and put it inside the number four roll, that's
the best cheesesteak
that's the
of the
best
day.
cheesesteak of the day.
I think
That's a good point.
for me the roll is important. So that's why if the roll is better on four, then I mean, yeah, if the meat is terrible, then it doesn't matter how good the roll is. But I don't think the meat was as bad in four for that roll to bring it down, or to bring down the roll so much.
I think at the end, like the extra point also comes from the cheese. I think the cheese distribution in the first one was a little better, and I'm a cheese guy. Like over my whole life, to me, the cheese it's a cheese steak, so the cheese plays a big role for me.
Holy mackerel. You guys have me indecisive. I had it in my head very clear. But, because it's funny, because my grading too, like, they're both, for one, I have below average, okay, weak. And then I have a very good and a lot of dry meat, needed more. But I think I have to go number four, basil roll. And it was dry meat. There was a good amount, and it was good. Like it was good dry. It was dry, but it was still good.
There's a pat on the back with that.
The number four, the fried onions and mushrooms were weaker, but not enough to swing it. So four moves on. I didn't think I'd be that close. After
After one, I was like, you know what, this is going to be the worst one.
I think first impressions with number one threw us the rest of the way, and then once we ate through the dinner here, we realized that we were a little harsh on one, and that's kind of what made it closer than it should be.
For you, yeah.
But it's funny how much the role plays a part in the visual of the roll. All right, let's move on. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. That's why you have to play the match.